President Obama is used to doing battle with Republicans, but now he is facing opposition from inside his own party. The president called reporters together at the White House Tuesday to defend the deal he made with Republicans to extend current tax rates to all Americans. In exchange, Republicans will support an extension of long-term unemployment benefits that are about to expire. The president urged congressional Democrats to accept the compromise.
A long political fight that carried over into next year might have been good politics, but it would be a bad deal for the economy, and it would be a bad deal for the American people. And my responsibility as president is to do what's right for the American people.
But leading Democrats say there is more work to be done on the agreement.
While this is not an arrangement many in the caucus would have made, we understand the president is negotiating with congressional Republicans who are willing to risk everything in order to secure tax cuts for the wealthiest of all Americans.
All right, so will Democrats go along with the president? For more, we are joined from Washington by Jake Sherman. He is congressional reporter for Politico. Jake, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
First thing I want to ask you is, did the president do a good enough job persuading members of his own party?
His people would say no. People on the Hill, Democrats on Capitol Hill, who helped him get elected, who passed his health care reform, his stimulus bill, who've done a lot of work for him, they think that they've been cut out of the equation. And President Obama has only worked with Republicans, which to a degree seems to be true. Democrats on Capitol Hill feel like their interests weren't represented in this. They think the president gave up way too quickly. One Democrat told me that the president went from zero to compromise in 3.5 seconds. And that same Democrat said, you know, the president should not count on any Democratic votes to get this bill through if he doesn't do some work, come up, sell the bill, among other things. So there is stiff resistance from Democrats, especially from the progressive wing of his party, which feels that, you know, he caved way too quickly on extending these upper bracket tax rates.
Yeah, let's get a little more specific on that, because we want to know exactly what the sticking points are for Democrats.
Sure. Democrats wholeheartedly have said they do not believe that these tax rates for the wealthy part of the wealthy bit of Americans should be extended. President Obama campaigned on that, and they feel that they should stick to that. Another issue is the estate tax, which they feel is a provision that affects a very small part of Americans, and Republicans had no business winning that concession from the president and from Democrats. And they would argue that the Democrats got an extension of unemployment insurance, which the Republicans have supported for the last couple months. So there's this kind of competing theories going on about what will happen next. Republicans have told me, House Republicans, that almost all of them are going to support this bill. So they've won over the Republican support, and all they need is 39 Democrats on the House side to get this thing through. And they're hopeful that that could happen.
Jake, let's look big picture right now. The president has promised that he would not extend the tax cuts when they expire again in 2 years. Is this an issue that is going to haunt him?
It isn't. It's a very difficult issue because the argument that Republicans have made is that during a soft economy, taxes shouldn't be raised on anybody. And they didn't use the argument like Democrats did that they were raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires, because that's what this upper bracket Democrats would say are. But, you know, taxes is a very thorny issue. Republicans have long fought to keep taxes low, and the president has now punted this down the field to when he's getting reelected and when Congress is getting elected again in 2 years, a pivotal election year in 2012. So this is not a very good strategy, Democrats would say. They wanted to end these upper bracket tax rates for good, let them sunset, keep the brakes in for the middle class and lower class Americans, and they kept it on the table, which is not a welcome sign for Democrats.
Well, the president has called the tax cuts the holy grail for Republicans, and many Republicans are supportive of the plan, as we've been talking about. But is there anyone realistically in the GOP voicing concern that this deal could add up to $900 billion to the deficit?
Some are. Senator George Voinovich, a retiring Republican from Ohio, has said he's not going to vote for the plan. And there's going to be some Republicans on the House side that say, listen, we're not going to add to the debt to do this. It's unclear who those Republicans are. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6, not many. But Democrats are pointing at this and saying, hey, these Republicans campaigned against the debt, against the deficit, kicked a lot of our members out of Congress, and now they're voting to add almost another $1 trillion to the deficit. So they see a hypocrisy, and some Democrats have signaled that they'll vote against this just because of that hypocrisy.
Well, if indeed this compromise gets the green light, is this deal an indication that Republicans will go along with some of the president's other policies, or was this just a resounding victory for Republicans?
Well, they've already won concessions on a number of measures. If you go back in the last couple weeks, the president has frozen salaries for federal employees, enacted a free trade agreement with Korea. So there's a number of things that have been on the table that Republicans have supported that the president has signed and gone along with. And the president is going to really try to, it seems at this point, from what he's done, to triangulate and move to the middle a little bit, get some things on, that could attract independents. And House Democrats kind of feel out in the cold. They're saying, listen, we've done a lot for this president, and we feel like we're being cut out of the process now.
All right, Jake Sherman from Politico. Jake, we appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.